I fell in love with radio, and this is really going to date me, as a child, sitting on my grandmother's lap, listening to both the Republican and the Democratic 1952 political conventions, because she thought it was important. And I was 35 at the time, sitting on her lap, but that was... And then I felt I was there. We didn't have a television then, so it was all radio. Remember election night, listening to it. Then with both of my grandmothers, listening to their stories, the soaps. And so I was in love with radio because of all the potential. So I knew from day one what I wanted to do for a living. All I had to do then was figure out how to convince somebody to pay me to do it. And I've been somewhat successful with that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What was the very first interview you had, and who was it with, where you were just mesmerized by the person you were interviewing, or you couldn't believe that you were actually interviewing this particular person? Who was that? What was that about?
Martin Luther King Jr.
What was it like?
Frightening.
Why?
Because I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't have any idea what they were going to say. But I realized at that point that you just talk to people.
What do you like best about what you do?
The free food.
What's second?
No, I get out, I meet people, I get to do things. I'm not stuck in a studio. All the news that I cover is positive. So I don't do politics. That's good.
What was the most challenging story that you ever had to cover? One that was either emotionally difficult or distasteful or just difficult?
The sniper shootings. I was still anchoring at that point. Those were difficult days. Of course, 9/11, and I was asleep because I worked strange hours, and a friend called and said, planes crashed into the World Trade Center, and I figured that it was, some small plane flying out of Teterboro that just didn't know what it was doing and crashed. So I called in, and I said, "What do you need?" They said, "Come in." So I got in there, and the brand new news director said, the only thing that we don't have covered right now is the schools. Do you mind doing that? No. And I get people today coming up and saying that was the most important piece of information that they got, was finding out what was going on with the kids, what the school systems were doing, and so forth. But all of that was horrible, having to cover that. But I've covered presidents, I've covered Charles and Diana's wedding. She blamed me for that whole thing. I'm over there for that. That was great fun. I've had incredible experiences, but trying to quantify what's the best, what's the most difficult.
Sure. Who's the funniest person you ever interviewed, do you think, or one of the funniest?
Victor Borga, definitely one of the funniest. When he got his Kennedy Center honors, I did not have a chance to do an interview with him before the whole weekend began, and he wasn't available during the other opportunities, so I had to wait to talk to him until after the TV production was done, and they had this huge dinner. And I looked over and I saw that his table hadn't been served, so I snuck over and I crouched down and I said, "Mr. Borga, I'm glad we timed this right, because I don't want to interrupt your eating." And he immediately reached over, grabbed a roll, and stuffed it in his mouth.
Yeah, I can see.
And I'm recording this whole thing, and he's just sitting there chewing and looking at me, chewing, and I'm cracking up. And his granddaughter said, "The longer you laugh, the longer he's going to do that."
What advice do you give to young people, or old people for that matter, starting out or wanting to do something a bit more professional in the broadcast industry? What sort of general advice would you give somebody?
One word: listen. It's very easy to spend the whole interview worrying about your next question and never hearing what has just been said. And you're back in the editing booth and you're going through it and saying, "Oh my, he knew where the Lindbergh baby was after all." And I forgot to do a follow-up because, whatever, it's you have to listen. Just pay attention. Kind of like you were doing when you were nodding off a moment ago.
No, I'm not nodding off. I'm actually asleep right now. I just talk in my sleep.
Scratch Victor Borga, okay.
Now, Bob, you were kind enough to come out to interview me and Jolene Sugarbaker and New Jersey Joe, one of the characters on YouTube, for this YouTube gathering that we've done on September 8th. And you may join us if you can, if your schedule permits.
That's my plan.
That would be great. We're all going to look forward to seeing you. And
you've got the helicopter all lined up.
The helicopter, the food, the French fries, everything's ready to go. What do you think after spending a little time with us? What do you think of this YouTube stuff? What's your sort of sense of it?
I'm a lot more intrigued. I have a better idea of kind of what's going on, and my only experiences were when people would send me links. "Oh, you have to see this. It's on YouTube," and there were a couple of things that trapped me for a couple of hours as I was going through, because they were also viewed or something like that. And I'd go check that out and go on. It's a wonderful labyrinth of ideas and creativity. And, it really upsets me that there are that many creative people out there, and they're all competition.
Well, we're really looking forward to you. Now, it's interesting too, just as a side note, that it's a little like eBay. Sometimes I go on eBay and I'll search for things just to see if I can bring back some old memories of stuff that I remembered as a kid. But YouTube is a little bit the same way. You can search for things like Bob Madigan, Man About Town, and you'd be surprised the videos that are out there.
I thought I paid to get those removed.
So I urge you.
A lot of money.
I urge you to get your money out of the bank account again. Track down those video producers, because they're out there. Well, we're just so delighted that you're going to join us, and you are such a great professional and a great broadcaster, and we're just really honored that you took the time to be interviewed, and you're taking the time to come and spend some time with us on September 8th.
And I appreciate the fact that you removed all the green M&Ms from my dressing room. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate it.